abnormal or psychotic behavior before. No one could tell.
If we knew that he was not normal, this tragedy would not have happened.
Yang Jiaqin is now in a mental hospital and has not been charged with a crime. His family refused to talk about the case, saying only that they felt terribly guilty about what had happened. Local authorities have tried to limit news coverage of the attack and any further investigation. Wu Junpei's father says police took away his son's body and refused to release it unless he signed a pledge not to hold local officials responsible. The family finally relented in December, 8 months after the attack, and cremated the boy's remains. But Wu says he is not abandoning his demand for justice.
I went to the government offices every day to visit the officials or anyone in charge. No one was willing to see me. They had only one message for me. A psychopath is not legally liable for murder. This is an accident. No one wished to see it happen. You can imagine my feelings as a father when I heard this. Shouldn't anyone take responsibility for my son's death? Did my son die for nothing?
With no national mental health law on the books, legal advocates say it is too often left to doctors and police to make difficult decisions on whether a person should be taken into custody or placed in a hospital.
Some people think a person needs to be hospitalized. Some people disagree. There are different opinions and controversies. Thus, we need a third party to decide. When you need to limit the decision-making rights of a person, their freedom and basic rights, it's a judicial issue.
The government has been drafting a mental health law for more than 25 years, but has yet to pass it.
The inadequate law about hospital admission is a big problem. The common procedure now is with the permission of a patient's family, hospitals admit and examine the patients. If they are identified as having mental disorders and cannot control their own behavior, we would suggest they have protective treatment to protect both themselves and others.
The Chinese government has pledged to increase investment in mental health care, building new psychiatric hospitals and stepping up training of psychiatrists, especially in rural areas. China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention has launched a community-based initiative to identify, monitor, and treat mentally ill patients who show a tendency toward violence. The government says the project has been rolled out to 60 sites in China, covering some 40 million people. A number of private institutions have also opened in the last decade with the aim of helping rehabilitate the mentally ill. At the Li Kang Family Resource Center in Guangzhou, recovering patients begin the long road to re-entering society through games, music, and arts and crafts. Most of the people here have been treated for acute mental problems, including bipolar and identity disorders and severe depression.
The idea is for the recovering people to be on equal terms with the staff, so they can develop their skills and abilities and choose the work they want to do. Through training, their skills will be developed. They can do some supplemental work or some part-time jobs as the next step. Gradually, they'll be able to work in society.
Yang Hui has embraced embroidery to distance herself from the schizophrenia that has haunted her for most of her adult life. She has been in and out of the hospital for the last 15 years. Each time, there would be signs of improvement, but eventually the illness returned.
There was no way out. My condition was recurring. The main symptoms were not communicating with others, feeling dizzy, having no energy, sleeping all day. I ate only one meal per day. I thought, I can't be like this anymore.
Yang says her experience at the recovery center has renewed her self-esteem and given her a new outlook.
I feel much happier right now because there's so many people here that have the same disease as I do. We have lots of things in common. And the social workers lead and help us. When I do something wrong and go to them for help, they're always willing to put their work down right away to chat with us. They help us analyze why we're not happy and tell us what to do.
In China's major cities, where stress disorders are on the rise, new forms of psychotherapy are catching on. The practice, banned during the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong, is growing more popular, with TV and radio shows, help hotlines, and counseling services. In Shanghai, some young professionals are finding a unique way to vent and control their anxieties. These devices are the brainchild of psychotherapists who saw a frightening development in modern Chinese society.
Along with the faster and faster development of society, the conflict between people's consciousness and subconsciousness is getting increasingly fierce. People feel the world is changing too quickly. In this situation, some psychological blow or a sense of loss emerges, which leads to more and more psychological problems.
The company says the machines help overstressed clients soothe their psyche, first by releasing their frustrations, then with relaxation. Yang Xiaoqian has been suffering from insomnia and says she's having trouble concentrating on her work at an advertising company.
This instrument teaches you how to adjust yourself and control your emotions by taking deep breaths. This way we can release pressure. I think it is effective. You will learn how to control yourself and keep a healthy balance both physically and mentally after long-term practice.
While psychotherapy has become a popular option for China's urban middle and upper class, for millions of rural poor suffering from more serious syndromes, there are few treatments available. Di Rei Sheng, left alone to watch over his increasingly violent schizophrenic son near Tangshan, clings to a remote hope that somehow his son will get help.
Leaders and kind-hearted people in society, help me, please. I would eat only gruel every day if my son's illness could be cured. This would be the greatest happiness. If he could get well, he would give back to society, the party, and the country.
For the rest of the village, worries that Di's son's behavior may one day turn even more violent casts a veil of fear over the community.
No matter whether